I'm going to talk fairly quickly about some best practices in software monetization, primarily from a customer perspective. Um, we at Frost & Sullivan, we're the digital media team, and we cover a wide variety of digital media from software to audio video systems, content delivery. Within software, we cover a number of verticals: animation, CAD/CAM, things like nonlinear editors, enterprise productivity. And what ties all of those together is, at the end of the day, the license management. You need to be able to make money on the software that you're building so that your company can continue to grow. There are two aspects to software monetization. You want to get revenue from your software, so that's the revenue generation aspect of it. And you want to ensure that you maximize the revenue, and so there's a privacy control aspect of it as well. Typically, entitlement management, or the management of features that result in software sales, is a core focus of a business. You define your different software editions, your premiums, your basics. You define licensing policies, whether it's own or whether it's pay by use. There's the back office functionality as well in terms of the business process, generating the licenses, tracking them. The user aspect of it: can I transfer licenses? Can I upgrade them? Can my usage be audited? Ultimately, all of that is what generates the dollars and cents of the business, and that entitlement management is the basic foundation of license management. But the important thing to remember is that's not the only aspect of license management. It's also important to take a look at the security and piracy prevention side of it. And the reason is fairly obvious. You can have the richest entitlement management routines possible, but if it's trivially bypassable or if it can be easily circumvented, and that is an unfortunate side effect of software, it's very easy to flip bits and bytes, then that entire investment becomes fairly meaningless, and it's hard to get an ROI on it. So being able to enforce entitlement management implicitly assumes security, but the truth is that that's a very hard problem to solve. And as technology gets more and more advanced, hackers have better and faster ways of attacking your software. And so many companies have decided to try to just keep their honest users honest. It seems like a more reasonable target. But the problem is it doesn't help prevent those losses. And those losses are real. They affect the ISV themselves. Folks like the BSA regularly run surveys. 42% of software used in 2011 was unlicensed, and as the economic climate globally gets worse, that percentage is slightly inching upwards. We're seeing it not just in software, also in embedded, where embedded starting to see a lot of use of software, and so the piracy aspect is correspondingly starting to become a bigger issue. And then there's the broader aspect of it. Countries lose revenue when businesses lose revenue. Global expansion becomes more challenging. The investments become harder. And at the end of the day, your own customers are hurt by piracy. And let me take a minute to explain that. Let's say you have two businesses, one who's legitimately using software, another that's using pirated software. The pirate's cost of business is lower, so they can provide the same services at a lower price point, which means they start to get more and more sales and they start to grow, whereas your legitimate customers are no longer able to invest in upgrades or in additional seats, and they start to shrink. And so it's as important for your customers who are competing in a global market for you to ensure that your software is not pirated. Otherwise, what you're doing is indirectly subsidizing their competitors. And so the takeaway is piracy is a problem. The losses are real for you, for your country, and for your economy, and also for your customers. There are a couple of trends in software monetization that I want to call out. Certainly, piracy management is becoming a more and more important aspect of the overall software monetization problem. As the markets become global, as you expand into regions with greater exposure to piracy, with fewer law enforcement options, that control is a problem for you and for your customers. It's also an architectural evolution. We went from on-premise software to embedded software to cloud-based software to SaaS offerings. Analytics starts to become increasingly important as you're doing usage-based licensing, for example, and your license management solution needs to keep pace with those evolving business models as well as those evolving product architecture. So there's a scalability aspect to an effective license management solution as well. User experience is becoming more and more important. Gone are the days when the user would choose the software and then the license management just came along. Low installation complexity is now required by customers. They're not really tolerating any performance impact. And at the same time, from your perspective, security is non-negotiable. So as those things start to come together, you have to start thinking about license management as a first-class feature as part of your product releases and upgrades. Not so much an afterthought that's just a checkbox. We have seen, as we spoke about earlier, quite a bit of prevalence of homegrown license management systems. As we head towards 2015, 2016, this is really taking a long-term view. We're seeing a lot of factors come into the mix. Platforms are changing. There are handhelds, there are tablets, there are Macs, there are Linux machines, there's Android. There are multiple business models, on-premise, SaaS, hybrid, trials. There are continuous pressures to control costs. The top line is not quite able to grow as much, and so controlling bottom line becomes more and more important. And at the same time, you have an ongoing need for security and innovation. So we're very much recommending that ISVs look at their license management strategy and very much consider looking at commercially available solutions, or at least developing their own long-term. So there are a couple of considerations as you choose a license management system, and there are three key aspects of this. There is the seamless aspect. It has to fit easily into your development process, into your deployment process, and into your consumer's production or productivity process. So you want to make sure it enables all your business models, fits into your CRM system, whether you're using Salesforce or an in-house process, whatever your business processes are, whatever your deployment, your channel processes are. It has to fit into all of that, and it absolutely cannot interfere with end user quality. The other aspect, and this is arguably the most important one, is scalability. It has to be able to grow with you. Once you incorporate a license management solution into your software and your business, it is extremely hard to switch out. And so you have to make sure that when you have, let's say you have 10,000 customers today, you have 1 million customers 4 years from now. Is your solution going to be able to scale over time? As your developers come and go, if you end up acquiring companies, if you end up getting acquired, will that solution be able to scale over time? And at the end of the day, if something happens to your license management vendor, if you have a contract disagreement, are you going to be able to continue to provide your software and grow your software, or are you directly or indirectly becoming dependent on your license management vendor? So those are all aspects to consider. And then, of course, there's the security aspect, which we've talked about quite a bit. It does need to provide an appropriate balance between cost and risk mitigation. If you have a $5 per user software license, it's, the complete 9-yard solution is obviously not appropriate for you, but you do need to ensure that whatever level of security you're planning for and implementing is appropriately balanced with the cost of your software and the risk that you're attempting to mitigate. So taking a look at Wibu-Systems as one of the vendors in the license management market, their solution does score very high on all three aspects. It's seamless in terms of development. It's, for example, whether you're using software, whether you're using hardware, whether you're using different types of interfaces, whichever development platform you're using, whatever programming language you're using, you're not limited in your choices by your license management solution. And that's important. Similarly, it has quick start option. You can take what's out of the box and very quickly get it up and running. Or if you are a larger business or one with richer, deeper functional needs, then you can leverage their APIs as well as their professional services team and really build out an extremely intricate system. And that type of seamlessness is important. Again, you want your license management solution to work with you, not the other way around where you have to adapt your business and your processes to the solution. From the customer's perspective, the dongles move freely from computer to computer, from server to server. The IT impact is fairly small. This is one of the few companies where their customers say, we like the dongles. We in fact engrave our name on their dongles. We make them part of our brand, and that's a really important testament to the user friendliness of the entire product line. On the software aspect, because there's tolerance built into the activation verification, there's much fewer, smaller chance of false positives and disruption there. In terms of scalability, CodeMeter dongles are one of the very few products on the market that have an interface other than USB. There's a very wide variety of embedded interfaces as well, and that gives you considerable flexibility in design. It does support desktop embedded server. It supports on-premise hybrid licensing, so it can scale as your business models evolve. And also because the protection process is the same whether you're using a dongle or a software license or both, it simplifies the development process. You don't have to choose up front. You have flexibility to change as you move forward. That's a big deal as well. And the company does maintain an ongoing focus on functionality as well as on security, which is really, really important in the long term. So just to quickly wrap this up, as you start to craft a license management strategy for your business, we very strongly recommend that because license management touches operations, finance, engineering, testing, and marketing, that all those teams are involved with planning and executing that strategy over time. Definitely make sure your solution will scale with your business over time, and that you choose carefully the first time because they are disruptive and expensive to replace. And so finally, as a closing takeaway, please remember that security and piracy management are as important as entitlement management as you craft your license management solution. And if you have any questions, we will be taking them towards the end, or you can just chat them to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Afni, for your insights from your market research and also from many interviews